Hi, I'm Shaka Hislop, and you're here at Extra Time TV.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Extra Time TV. This is Andre Soklan, and once again, the other Andre returns. Andre, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be back. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while, and we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, there's a FIFA series taking place very soon. Trinidad Tobago will be taking on Venezuela and Gabon. And, we spoke to, Tom Feet as well. You can check out that video. He has a lot of insight into AFCON football. And Andrew and I will probably do another video about that as well when we get to that game. But Andrew, before we get to the actual game, the big talking point, even though it's been some time now since it happened, Dwight Yorke stepped down, or depending on who you ask, that's a whole different story. But, he stepped down. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm extremely disappointed that Dwight had to step down or was relieved of its duty, depending on whose prism you look through. They will give you a different story. But I mean, as it stands now, it's a mutually agreed decision. I think it wasn't in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago football to have to start over, because it leads to the fact that it points to the fact that we're not very, very serious about sports and serious about achieving things at a high level. Simply because a lot of it requires structure, a lot of it requires consistency, and a lot of it requires commitment by the powers that be. So I'm really, really disappointed that the actual expectation was that we will get Dwight with 1 year, or probably 6 months to work miracles and move mountains to the point where we would have qualified for a World Cup. It doesn't work like that, to be quite honest. We were in a decent group. I mean, with Bermuda, Jamaica, as well as Curacao. By the end of the day, we placed third in a group where we were actually the third best team on paper, third best team in terms of coaching and facilities, etc. Because I mean, Curacao, you look at them and look down on them, but Curacao dipped heavily into this diaspora where most of the players were playing in first and second division in Belgium and in Holland. So they had a better depth of players. So I'm saying all this to say the cycle is 4 years. I really hoped we had kept Dwight Yorke to the point where we were building something. The team was playing better. We were a lot more competitive in certain games. And I was really looking forward to seeing the team grow from strength to strength. But apparently the money ran out. The money was only for a qualifying campaign. And then I guess 2-3 years from now, they'll get some money and try for a qualifying campaign. And I guess we will be left with the same results. We were not going to qualify.
Yep, that seems to be the consensus from a lot of people. At least the EXTV community, everybody was, hoping he would stick around. Everybody had the general consensus that they were happy, myself included, that, he was making progress with the team. You saw everything you mentioned there, and I'm going to repeat it. And deep down, I was concerned if we didn't get to the World Cup, if they were going to be able to financially sustain him. And then, as you rightfully said, that's a whole a discussion we can have a separate time. What's going to happen now? Are we going to do the same thing again when the next cycle comes around, a couple months before the qualifiers, scrape some money together and ask for miracles, some coaches, and try to do the Leo Ben Hacker thing and get us to the World Cup? And, it just doesn't work like that anymore. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame because this was a really good chance for us to get in there. One of the best chances we've had in years. It was set up. I mean, this is no disrespect to the other teams, but we did have a good chance, and it didn't happen. And once again, the usual narratives come out from some of the same media outlets. And it's for lack of a better reference, it does sound like a broken record for people who know what records are still. Yeah. Yeah, but for now, the decision was made. I did a quick video about I asked AI who they thought at the
I think I saw. Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
So I decided not to put my emotions. I said, let me ask the AI, and it gave some thoughts, And of course, they did suggest Derek King was going to be the interim, but I think anybody who follows Trinidad Tobago football was not surprised by that. Derek King seems to be, that the mainstay guy. He's been around a long time now, and that's the thing when you're doing analysis heading into this. Even though he's part of the staff, when you have an interim coach, you can't really predict his tactics too much, which we'll get into in a little while. But, before we get into that, let's talk about the call-ups. I have the list right here. I'm not going to call out all the names, but, goalkeepers, Jabari Bryce, Denzel Smith, Tishon Ragu from Club Sando. And, there was a couple of players that notably are absent. For me, Dante Sealy, Tyrese, Spicer and those guys, and a couple others. And, immediately from looking at the squad there, what do you think about the absentees and who really sticks out to you?
Well, there are about probably 6 or 7 names missing from the squad that I thought would have been there. I know that the MLS quartet is not there, so that's the quartet, the quintet, I could say, because I'm gonna add another name because he's back in training, and he started in playing for the reserve team now. But let's start with the heavy hitters from in terms of our MLS contingent. We have Dante Silly not there, Tyrese Spicer not there, Kobe Henry not there, and Wayne Frederick, who seems to be getting a starting role with his club with Colorado this season. They've all been excused from this, or asked to be excused from this window. Then we have the returning Ajani Fortune, who's back playing with the second team right now, but I know that before his injury, he was also an integral part of the Atlanta United midfield. So that's 5 solid players that we don't have that's not here. Then when we look to England, Daniel Phillip asked to be excused. I believe Andre Raymond is injured, and I think one other player I think was reported an injury. I can't remember his name. So those are the notable absences for me. Um, but I'm quite happy with some of the names that have been called up. But most of the names, some of the names I'm a bit 50-50 on, but I'm also happy with some of the names or some of the players that have been called up as placeholders or to given who are getting a chance to actually stake a claim to be more permanent into the squad.
Yep, and as I had an interview earlier with Thompson Feet. For folks, if you don't know who that is, he coached Trinidad Tobago. A lot of people were very divisive about him. I got some interesting insight. I'll put that video up really soon. You can check that out about, the AFCON and so on. But Derek King, he's an interim coach. The question looms heading into this tournament, which is good for us, the FIFA Series for smaller nations. I think it benefits us. We're getting these high-quality teams, which includes Venezuela as well. AFCON is a powerful confederation. CONMEBOL is a powerful confederation. And, those friendlies could serve us well. But it goes back to what we were saying earlier. That continuity we were hoping to get with Dwight, Yorke, and that progression. Now, the question to be asked when you have an interim coach, how are you going to approach this? Yes, the easy answer is that we want to win and do well. But, in terms of tactics and how we're going to approach this game and, players, the availability of players and, if somebody takes over, if that new coach is going to continue with what Derek King was doing, if he's just going to cast it aside, there's more questions than answers. But, we're just going to have to use tunnel vision and talk about the games right now. Derek King has been involved with Trinidad Tobago football for a long time now. At club level, he worked with a lot of those coaches. Almost the majority of the coaches in recent times, he's always been a present. He's a former player. And, on paper, he is an easy choice to be an interim. And even, depending on who you ask, a coach, if we can't get, the quote-unquote big names that a lot of people have been calling.
Yeah, definitely. Derek King has served as an assistant coach for quite a number of years. He was under Angus. He was under as far as Stephen Hart. He worked extensively with Stephen Hart, both with Trinidad as well as when Stephen Hart was with Halifax in Canada. So, and he was extensively involved with Dwight, so he's familiar with some of the coaching style of Dwight. So if there's some potential. I mean, he will have his own identity as a head coach, but there's also the potential for some semblance of continuity because he would have been familiar with how Dwight would have wanted to set up the side, or how Dwight his ideas as it relates to playing style, etc. So there is some element of continuity, but I mean, I'm just gonna wish him well. I saw that he brought back some of his, favorites. I know that I know Ram Prasad is one of his players that he trusts very much. He has a really good working relationship. I've seen I've seen the team training before where Rampersad is essentially a coach in the middle of the park. He's the one barking out instructions. So I guess from that light, coaches would tend to gravitate towards him. So I'm happy to see Andre back in the squad as well. I'm really happy to see Rio Cardin's back. I'm happy to see Darren Payne because I was worried a little bit about Darren Payne if he would continue to be committed to Trinidad. So I'm happy that he's there. Dante Gilbert is showing some form for his club in I believe it's in Czech Republic. He's playing in the first division in Czech Republic, so that's a pretty high standard that he's playing in football in. Albeit the squad is struggling at the wrong end of the table, but he seems to be one of their shining lights right now and starting for the first team. We have a Roel Mitchell, who's a really nippy striker with a bright future, who's playing with the New York Red Bulls second team. Happy to see him in the squad as well. And we have a new call up at Jalen Yearwood. But one of the names that I'm really happy to see is Adam Pear, the under 20 centre back, who seems to be, you know, um, who seems to be playing a little above his level in terms of the performances. He is catching the eye of a lot of the coaches in the national setup. So I'm happy that he's getting this level of exposure and this level of experience. And who am I to forget Mr. Levi Garcia, who is back with it with the Trinidad and Tobago squad. So that's some names, and just to continue, I'm going to get your opinion on this. There are a couple of names I'm surprised that they got the call up. I'm happy for them because it's always a fantastic opportunity to represent the country. And there are obviously absentees with some of the names we called out before. But I was surprised to see players like Riyad Moore getting back into the squad. I was surprised to see Rushford. Not sure how well he's doing over there in Oman, but I know that I'm happy that he got the call up. And I expected Market to get a call up because Molly Khan is injured. So I know that we would have wanted that kind of number 10, number 8, my role in the squad, which Market could provide. And Market is, based on some of the clips that I've seen, Market seems to be doing pretty well in Oman. So all in all, it's a balanced squad. I think we're a little bit light defensively. We look a little bit top heavy in terms of striking options or attacking options, but I'm sure that they sat down and they went through the possibilities and the way that we would play with a fine tooth comb. So who am I to judge with my from my sofa, as we like to say? Who am I to judge from my sofa?
Yes, yes, and the thing is, it's I guess it's a wait and see then, because it's very difficult to sit down and really analyze too much. I mean, we're assuming right now these are educated guesses that maybe Derek will discontinue. More than likely, that's why they do hire interim coaches like Derek King, who's there, because they are fully aware of the players, the staff, whatever things they were doing, they would try to continue it. Maybe add their little tinge, as you said. He called up some players that were familiar to him, especially Rampasad, as you pointed out as well. And in terms of tactics, you can't really. It's basically an educated guess. Would he continue with Dwight Yorke's what Dwight Yorke did, with Jaron Jackie, with that sort of centre back that plows into the midfield kind of role? I'm actually excited as to what I would use to just see the approach, because I've always said for many years, way back in the day when I was still a teenager, unfortunately, and when that was really a long time ago, when I always wondered why we never played more friendlies against Venezuela, because they come from a very strong confederation. They're right there. There's so many social reasons that it benefits the team in terms of, now we have, the Venezuelan population here as well. And, there's so much marketing possibilities for it just from a non-sporting perspective. And then they're a good team. These guys play against the
Of
top.
course.
And
Of course, they give all the big guns in South America a good run for their money. So and they have a very strong ranking. I think they rank around in the 50s or thereabouts. So they're a solid squad. I mean, obviously they will struggle to make a World Cup simply because they're competing against the likes of Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, etc. So it's hard for them. They are, to get into that CONMEBOL spot to qualify for a major championship or a world championship. But Venezuela normally is a very, very, very strong team. So we have our work cut out for us when we get on the pitch on Friday morning. Trinidad time.
yes, yes. And, Venezuela, at the beginning of the campaign, because I follow South American football, and that's no big secret. Everybody knows this. I mean, they changed their coach as well. They had Batista as one of their coaches, and they really were kind of confident they were going to get into that. CONMEBOL had a few more spots this time around, but now they're in a playoff. I mean, Bolivia and those guys, along with those teams, were really confident this time around. And interestingly enough, we played Bolivia in that friendly. That result was
Well, it was a Bolivia second team against a
clear.
Trinidad second, well,
Yeah.
Trinidad local team as well. I think they ran up 3-0. I saw a couple people who got the chance in that game, and I ain't seen them. I ain't seen them in this lineup. There was a guy from Wales, I believe his name was James
Hmm.
something. James, I can't remember his name, but he came down. 19 years old. He's playing in the first division in the Premier League in Wales, but he didn't get on the pitch against Bolivia, and he isn't called up now. So I assume that he's he didn't make the cut. That I don't think it is Alvin or Jovin in the squad to Uzbekistan.
Let me
If you could
make
check
sure.
over quickly.
Let's see. Let's see. I remembered seeing him, but let me make sure. I'm not seeing it here on this graphic I have from the TTFA.
So they both went. I think they both went to. Well, I think they both went to Bolivia, and they're both not in the squad right now. So it's more or less a changing of the guard as well. In terms of who we're looking to move forward with for. So the squad looks pretty decent. Young squad. Again, I'm happy to see Darren Payne and Rio Cardines. These are the young lights that are going to lead us forward. We have Nati is there. We have Real Gill in the mix as well. I'm just calling off the top of my head, but so we should have some decent firepower. We don't have I think it's just Levi and Mitchell as the two strikers, but Rian Moore could play in that role. In the midfield, we have Jackie, who I'm extremely impressed with. I really hope that he gets on to something bigger. I know he's an Oman, but I'm really looking forward for him to go to a bigger league because he has tools at his disposal where he could be a really really fantastic defensive player.
Yep.
And yeah, so we're just going to have to give a good account of ourselves against Venezuela. I expect us to be very very defensive. I expect us to feel them out, and we'll see how the game goes. Any predictions?
Well, the thing is, I think to jump across to Venezuela now, I think as we rightfully said, Venezuela is a very good team. If they were in any other confederation, they possibly would have been maybe 1 or 2 World Cups by now. Or maybe the exception are UEFA. But they are that good and they have improved significantly. So I think it's a very good choice of team. I mean, we didn't really choose that. That's what the tournament was shaped up. But for us as Trinbagonians, Venezuela will be a very good test to see where we are now since the post Dwight Yorke era. So I actually think in the end, and this is not me being I'm putting on the non fan base here. I'm trying to be purely analytical now. So I'm taking off the fanboy. I always want Trinidad Tobago to win. I always preface this by saying that. But I think we will approach the game very defensive. But I think Venezuela will probably, because of one key factor, edge the win. Finishing seems to be our Achilles heel for some time now. And, Dwight Yorke tried to solve it. Levi gets in those chances. Great player. And even he admitted in some of his interviews, he wants to be El Karma in front of goal and things like that. So it's very safe to say if we take our chances, we'll win. That's incredibly cliche to say, but that's actually what hurts us. And I think that's what will probably hurt us as well. Venezuela is also known for not taking their chances as well. That's what kind of cost them, possibly qualifying for the World Cup, automatically. Because, even though they have a Rondon on these guys, they're not the most lethal finishers. They do create chances, though. And I believe they may create enough chances to eventually sneak. I actually think it may be a narrow win for them in the end. But I think, we'll give a good account for ourselves because I think familiarity I think Derek King, is aware of the players he's chosen, and that continuity, even though it won't be exactly the same staff as well behind the scenes. Um, I think it will be a very good test. I'm very excited to see us play against opposition like this. I wasn't as excited for Bolivia because, as you rightfully said, it wasn't even Bolivia's real team.
Yeah, because it was a second or third string Bolivian team.
Yeah.
But I made up, and it was I think the average age was around 22. So it was young players playing in their local leagues that we came up against. So it wasn't really a good gauge of where we could be. But this is a stronger Venezuelan squad. And then ultimately, I would have liked us to play Uzbekistan just to get that European, but beggars can be choosers.
Correct. And just some quick facts, for we do have some Venezuelan fans and streamers, which I was impressed about during the live streams all over the world. You know, the new coach, I actually was familiar with the previous coach, who was a Argentinian coach who was in charge of the under-20 system for a while, and then when they didn't qualify, he stepped down, and the coach by Oswaldo, I hope I'm not butchering this, Viz Corondo. Anybody in the comment section, if I butcher that, feel free to let me know. I will take that. And I think Venezuela believes that they are on the upswing, and they have been doing well. I mean, they finished, if I check correctly, I think it's eighth in CONMEBOL.
Just behind Bolivia, I think.
Yeah. So imagine teams like Chile finish last. Chile's kind of like in a downward spiral. But in terms of formations, just like guess, because we don't really know. We'll see what Derek King. If do you think he's gonna go Dwight Yorke? They try different formations. Usually I realize the go-to formation sometimes is that 4-2-3-1, which is really kind of like a 4-3-3 when it needs to be offensively, because we always have pacey wide players. And it has worked pretty well for us. It's just the finishing that hurts us. What do you think? What do you think he's gonna go with?
Yeah, I think it's 4-2-3-1. I think so.
Mm.
Even with the amount of centre backs we took, I don't think we took a large amount of centre backs. So I don't think we're gonna play three at the back. We'll play two. Sorry. There's Jordan. Long day.
Yes.
Son, as I see you tomorrow. Good luck to him. And so I think we're gonna play that 4-2 with two holding, most likely by be Rampy and I'm not sure Jackie. Jackie might be the other midfielder. I'm not quite sure, because it's hard to predict, because I'm not sure what the King is gonna do. I didn't see enough of him in terms of him leading the team and his style of play, with Angus. After a while, we knew what Angus was going to do. With Dwight, with the familiarity that we had with him over the last few games, we kind of had an idea what Dwight was going to do. So now we kind of, it's like a wait and see. I think he's going to be a little bit defensive. So even if he plays a flat back four, the two holding midfielders in front of the back four will sit a little deeper than usual. Even one player might sit a little deeper to make that a back five, depending. So, and in attack, I guess we'll have the players and the wide players pushing up a little bit more to add to the attack. So,
Yes.
all in all, I'm curious to see how we shape up, we set up on Friday morning.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm excited to see it, and I think the game is available on FIFA Plus, folks. I'll be doing a watch along as well. Hopefully, all things go smoothly, and we get to do it as well. And in terms of Venezuela, before I wrap things up, I'm not gonna go too far back. I like to go with more recent form, because the coaches change, and we said this at the beginning of the video. Especially when they're interim or new coaches, it's very hard. We don't really know their style. So like I try to avoid, in this particular case, Venezuela in the last two games in qualifiers, when they play quote unquote what they believe is superior opposition, they go with five at the back, 5-3-2. And then usually when they think it's equal, they go with a 4-3-3. And against Colombia, they lost 6-3. So they are susceptible to pace. I looked at that game. We do have those pacey wingers and people like Levi who could hold up and dribble. We could create some chances. So that's my one positive, even though I did say Venezuela might edge it. The Trini and me could see that's the positive. So we'll see what this new coach is gonna do. Is he gonna go on the offensive? Are we gonna go on the defensive? And what Derek King is gonna do. So it's a era of new coaches and a new system and a new era for Trinidad and Tobago, and it's exciting to see. So, like I said, do you have I know I don't like to do this. We like to do educated guesses, and we did our predictions. You kind of asked me before, but how do you think the game is gonna go, Andre?
I think Venezuela gonna win. I'm just being neutral here. I mean, I don't want any of my friends looking at this to say I'm projecting my Chelsea pain. But
Yeah, yeah.
but I think we might lose that game 3-0 or 3-1. I think so. I think we might stand a better chance against Gabon.
Mhm.
But against Venezuela, they're gonna, and I don't know if they're gonna be holding any additional motivational energies against us based on political factors. But
Oh yeah.
I think it's not a game that we. I don't think we. I'll be surprised if we win the game, but I'm more interested in how we play in terms of how we carry about ourselves on the pitch.
Same here. I mean, like I said, and the two Andres, we say both of us are saying it before we say anything. We are Trinidad fans first and foremost. We always want us to win. I would love to be wrong in these situations. Trust me. Like, I'm it is a situation I'm okay with that. If Trinidad puts on a magisterial performance, I would be perfectly happy to just say, you know what, kudos to those guys. But realistically, based on form and just the type of opposition that Venezuela plays on a regular basis, it looks unlikely. But the cliche football is played on a day, etc., etc. But like you, I'm curious as well to see where we are now. After the Dwight Yorke era, because that will give us a good indication of um, the CONCACAF Nations League and things like that, the Gold Cup. That's the tournaments we have to look forward to, where we are in that position. Because, we have the absentees. We do have a decent core of players that was built up with the Dwight Yorke era. And, by then, Derek King and whoever takes over, whoever is the new coach is probably looking at us right now and, assessing his team. So I think this is a good time to see where we're at and where we're going. And, hopefully I won't be too devastated if we lose, but it's just good to see where we are, like you said. So, folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think we're going to annihilate Venezuela? Do you think the tension between the countries will play a factor? They're very passionate people, the South Americans. They don't play; they battle on the field. So do we when we're ready. Um, but let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Head over to extvmedia.com. I will be having a live stream watch along. It's an early morning game, so I'll be up at dawn. The early bird catches the worm. Some journalists used to say that. So I'll be up. So those of you all over looking at the stream, join in. And just some good news, Andre. In the last 6 months, we had 1,300 subscribers jump up. That's just in a short period of time. That's crazy. And with the live streams, I really want to say a special thank you to everybody who has been looking at the previews with both Andre, Lance Whitaker, and all these guys. We really appreciate the feedback and the discussions. I like that it's very respectful. I was actually very impressed by that. So you all deserve some kudos for that. Because football banter could go different directions. So some good news. So I look forward to seeing everybody. And Andre, of course, we'll have a discussion after the game. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully it's great. And we'll see you folks after the game. So Andre, it's been a pleasure. And folks, join me for the live stream and I'll see you after the game.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Extra Time TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe.